Hey, it's Corey from Ladbrotory, and today we're going to show you how to make the control panel for the arcade machine that's under $200. Welcome back. So the control panel is going to be the most expensive part in this $200 arcade machine. It costed me around $90 US, which I did quite well with pricing, so I'm quite happy with that. Now the Raspberry Pi I got really lucky with, and that cost me around $40 US. I got it on sale just before Christmas, which I'm quite happy with. I'm not going to use a power supply bought online. I'm just going to use an old phone charger and USB lead. Just make sure that the phone charger is rated to 2.5 amps. Otherwise you might find issues with the high-powered games that your Raspberry Pi will just reset. Now for joysticks and arcade buttons, you guys can really choose what you want. It doesn't really matter. Again, for this build, I tried to keep everything really on the cheap. Firstly, I was looking at the one that I'm showing you now. This is at around the $45 mark US. When I was looking at it at around Christmas again. It could be more, it could be cheaper now, I don't know. But in the end, I actually found an iPac 2 controller, which someone had used and they didn't want anymore, and I picked it up really cheap. So I ended up using this. So I'm going to be using this for our build, just because iPacs let you have more control over the inputs. You can remat everything, while the generic USB controllers, everything's just pre-configured. You can use these, it won't make a difference, but just for this build, for my same cost essentially, I've just put a little step up. Now the first step in this build is to measure a TV screen. So whatever screen you're using, we need to measure that, because that's going to determine the width of our control panel. Now for the depth, I just sort of guessed what felt comfortable for me, and then I've just really got my piece of MDF panel, which is 16mm, marked it all out with some measuring tape and used a level as a straight edge, and yeah, just marked it out with some pencil. Next step, I got my circular saw out with just a couple of horses, sat it up, and I slowly started to cut out. Now remember with MDF that the particles produced by this can be quite dangerous, so make sure when you're using the circular saw that you have a breathing protection. You can wear hearing protection too, and glasses if you want to, for the noise and if anything gets in your eyes. Once I basically got it cut out, I then roughly positioned all my controllers where I wanted them to sit. So once they were in position, I became happy with them. The next step was to mark them all out so I could get them exactly where I wanted. So again, I got out my tape measure and started marking out positions. So I can't remember what mine were. You guys, once you mark or position your controllers where you want, just measure the spots roughly, and then what I did was I just drew straight lines and spaced everything out evenly, if that makes sense. So once you're done, it should look something like this in the end. Everything marked out with positions all the same distance from each other, away from edges the same distance, so you guys will get a really nice finish at the end. Next step, I grabbed my drill out. Now for these holes, at first I thought they were 25mm, and I did a 25mm hole and it didn't work, because that's just what I'm used for being an electrician. Everything's 25mm, but they're actually 28. So make sure you use 28mm holes, and there's not too much room to play. 28mm just fits through. So once they're all done and cut, that's what you guys should be left with. And now next step is to push through all the buttons. So they're pretty straightforward. All you do is push them straight through the hole, a little bit of force, and they go in nice and snug. So this is where the marking out really comes in handy. If you've done your holes exactly evenly spaced apart, you know, it's going to look really nice once you're finished and everything's put in. So you can see me just putting in all the buttons here. I keep on going, the dog in the background walking past, enjoying life. So now this thing to make sure on the back is the notation of where all the switches are going. So you've got to plan ahead that when your switches go in, you really want all the wires coming out in nice neat bundles and away from each other. So they're not going to hit walls, or, you know, it's all going to be nice and neat when you go to connect it all up. Now, once you're all happy with everything, the black screw locking nuts just go in on the top, and they're pretty straightforward. You just screw them in like any normal screw mechanism. So I'll screw all these in. Now, next step, what we're going to be doing is putting in the joysticks. Now, the joysticks are a bit fun and games, only because you can't really see where you're positioning them underneath, because you've got to screw them in from underneath, but you position them on the top, and they don't exactly have a groove to sit in. So you can screw it in, but the joystick will be massively off-center in comparison to your hole. So what I had to do was literally sit it off the edge of the table like you've seen me doing here, and basically look underneath, try and get it square and center, and then put some screws in. And I've just used some really short screws so it doesn't protrude out the other end of the MDF board. Once all that's done and dusted, we're up to the final bit of our build, putting in the switches. So one little quick tip is to make life a bit easier, I ended up getting some bowls and sitting them underneath the joysticks, because if you can imagine the joystick sitting out. Now this switch here are the ones that we're putting in, and they literally just clip in. So they can only go in one way, it's pretty self-explanatory. So that's all there is to the switches, they just literally put in. So I've gone through, put all my switches in. It didn't take me too long, probably only took me 5 minutes. You probably noticed a couple of these I think I put in upside down, or I did something weird to them and they didn't go in right and I had to change them. Oh, I lost one. Found it in the end. Now thanks for watching, guys. If you want to see some more build videos, or you want to see other cool things, we do a lot of 3D printing on our channel, why not subscribe by clicking the button? Otherwise we'll see you next time.